This afternoon, yesterday, just a quick review. Hello, Maan. Yesterday, we talked about leading change. We talked about what are the areas that you might need to consider for your organization. You might need to redo the vision or mission of the organization, which which might also mean that you need to change the business model of the organization. You want to look into the strategies of your organization. You want to look into the organization, maximize people, try to keep people within the organization. You want to retool your personnel to prepare them for the roles that they need to play. And finally, you want to look at your assets. Keep what are necessary, but think about how you can maybe dispose or share some of your assets to those who might need them. Okay, and today we will be talking about habits. What are good habits and how do we develop new habits in this new normal? In the next how many days, there will be announcements on how the government could somehow improve or move towards normalcy in the coming days. So they might ease up a bit on restrictions for certain organizations or individuals. They might allow certain things as long as we observe necessary precaution. So we're slowly moving towards regaining normalcy in our community. But for now, we are still observing the quarantine or the ECQ. So as we move towards easing all of these restrictions, how do we make sure that we could thrive with the realities that are awaiting us when we go back to work? Okay? So, everyone ready? Zen, Kuya Bobot, Jenny. Okay. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Chaline's here. Tata's here. Ate Miles is here. Perry's here. Kasan. All right. So, if you want to listen rather to the talk for today, which will be on how to develop good habits in the new normal, please type in the comments below. Please type in the comments below, pray for our frontline workers. Please type in the comments below, pray for our frontline workers. If I see 10 comments, pray for our frontline workers, then I shall begin the talk for this afternoon. Sige nga. Can I see you type, pray for our frontline workers. Dear Lord, bless our frontline workers. Keep them safe. Give them wisdom. Please keep their body strong so they could resist the virus. And may all of those who are inflicted by the virus recover. And may they go back to their regular lives and rebuild what is left or build upon what they will find as soon as we go back to work. Thank you for hope that is in our hearts. Bless our leadership, including the President and everyone involved in the interagency task force, that they may have wisdom and good synergy to maximize resources, however limited they are. In Jesus' name, Amen. All right. There are two things that influence our success in life or our productivity. Number one are our big decisions. The decisions that we make in life set us on a particular course. We make the decision to set up a business, that's going to be the course. We make the decision to shift careers, that's going to be the course. We, for example, make the decision to change the business model, that's going to be the new course of the business. But as soon as we make that key decision, the next thing that you all need to think of, that we all need to think of, would be this: how do we create good personal and organizational habits? Again, personal and organizational habits, in order to ensure that excellence and productivity will not be dependent on how we feel for that given day, but will really be consistent and predictable. Because in order to thrive in the new normal, we need to make sure that habits are in place, that we don't have to think about whether this guy will perform well today. We can expect that this guy will perform well today because it is already his habit that he performs a certain way. Okay? Now, what are the effects of having good habits? Number one, I mentioned earlier, is predictability of performance. Because if that's how you do things and that's how you perform on a regular basis, then your productivity and the quality of your performance would be predictable. The second benefit of good habits, or having habits in general, is really that you could relax. The body, as soon as it develops habits, will not be as stressed. I'll give you an example. When you buy a new car, you drive your car inside your driveway for the first time. It's a new car. It's a big car, for example, or whatever size of car, maybe something that you're not used to. The first time or the first few times you drive that car, you get a higher rate of heart function. Because you're careful, you're trying to measure things, you're trying to see, do I bump that corner? So you're stressing. And when the brain is making decisions and calculations, it is consuming more calories, it is consuming more energy, and it's requiring the eyes to focus and the body to focus. It's not relaxed. So that's the effect when we're not used to doing things, and when there's something new, there's going to be a much higher level of stress. But the moment you get used to parking your car into that driveway, you're not even thinking about it. It's all part of your routine. It's all part of your routine. It's all measured. Wala na siyang brain work masyado. You're looking and you know what to do. It's all muscle memory. So that's the physical, or the benefit of the body, or the benefit of habits to the body. So first is predictability of performance. The next one is you can really relax a bit. Number three, when you have habits, you're actually making that chore something that can be transferred to this person. It's already a habit, you know how it is done, so it's easy for you to transfer this particular habit to another person because you're so used to it, you know the parts of that thing you're doing, that you can ask someone to copy what you're doing. You can coach someone into learning what you're doing. And that makes this particular task transferable, thereby transferring also the quality of work that you have achieved for yourself. Okay? So number one, you will develop predictability of good performance. Number two, good habits will make you more relaxed. And number three, having developed habits is easier for you to actually teach that role or that function or that task to another person, which is really ideal when we're talking about an organization that's growing, because we need to replicate good habits across the organization, especially if we're talking about the new normal, where we need to do certain things and certain roles and processes that might not be the same as what we're used to prior to this COVID-19 crisis. Okay, so those are the three benefits to having habits. All right, so now I'll share with you, if you want to develop habits, you need to think of habits as powerful, that you need time to develop these habits. Okay, some people 21 days, some people 10,000 hours, but none of it have been proven really to work in all situations. So some people develop habits much faster, others much longer. Some people are much faster learners than others. So don't get stressed. if you're not developing that habit yet, or it's taking much longer for you to develop that habit. So don't think about, if I do 10,000 hours, then most likely, because 10,000 hours is a long time. So if you develop 10,000 hours, you do something for 10,000 hours, not only do you develop habit, but you develop really good excellence in that aspect. So 21 days, they're saying, some people 21 days, others might take shorter, if you're focused, if you know how to put in the necessary cues. So give it time, and it will be different for you compared to the people around you. So don't put unnecessary pressure on yourself. Be gentle with yourself, but give yourself a little nudge in order to develop good habits. Okay? What are some areas of habits that are necessary? You have your resting habits, you have your working habits, you have your leisure and socialization habits, you have your nutrition habits. Okay? So resting, working, leisure, nutrition, and fitness. Okay, those are parang essentials. Okay. Resting habits, important. If you don't have good habits, good sleeping habits at night, you will end up physiologically weak or physically weak. So, yung habits mo sa pagtulog is essential for your good performance. That's an area you need to work on. We all need to work on. Now, here's the challenge. Because of this COVID-19, our sleeping habits have actually, for many, many people I know, and I've been reading this on social media, their sleeping and resting habits have been completely out of sync. While before they used to sleep 9, 10 o'clock, 11, I hear some people sleeping at 2 to 3 in the morning. When we face a new normal, the more we should rest, be deliberate in taking rests, because we're developing new things, we're developing new habits. That's why be deliberate about your sleeping habits, because your resting habits will make you productive the next day. Okay, that's one. The second one is you want to be building good work habits. Mark is not a father, husband anymore. Mark is working. So how do I tell my body that I am now the professional Mark? You need to also be deliberate about that, because there might be new roles different from what you've always done. So be deliberate about developing new habits for your work. Number 3, your habits for your leisure, family time, very important. You don't want to eat up time from other aspects of your life. You're working, you want to cue in your work habits. Once you stop working, you want to cue in your leisure and family time and socialization habits. If you don't cue that in, your work habits will eat your leisure and family time. Not good. Not good, because you need to build good relationships, and according to studies, if you want to be successful, you need good relationships, you need leisure, you need to take care of your families, you need to take care of your extended relationships. Rest, work, leisure, relationships. Number 4, your nutrition and fitness habits. Natutulog ka nga, maayos ka magtrabaho, okay naman yung pamilya mo at mga kaibigan mo, sobra ka naman kumain, sobra ka naman uminom, hindi ka naman nag-exercise, hindi ka rin lalakas. I heard this from Dr. Edong Permites. Hi, Spring. You want to say hi to my friends? Come here. I'd like to introduce to you my eldest daughter, Spring. Say hi.
Hi.
Okay, tell me about your project in school.
No,
Come on. Tell me your project in school.
we're going to be helping people or different barangays and asking them like how if they need any assistance regarding COVID-19.
How will you do that?
by calling them.
So, this is initiated by?
My science teacher. We're gonna have a meeting in Zoom in a few minutes.
In a few minutes? Okay. No, stay with me. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Rest habits, work habits, family, friends, relationship habits. 4, eating, nutrition, physical well-being, physical exercise habits. Hindi pwedeng mawala yun. Hindi pwedeng mawala yun. At yung, ano nga yung sabi kong pang-5? Your sleeping habits, your work habits, your family, leisure, friends. Your 4th is your eating habits, your exercise habits. Nakalimutan ko yung pang-5. Anyway, I'll share it with you if I remember it. Or baka 4 lang yung sinabi ko. 4 lang ba yung sinabi ko? Okay. I'm a bit sleepy actually. I stayed up late last night because I watched Duterte again. And in fact, I made a post today last night, that it is not what I expected it to be. But that's Duterte style. And I wrote it on my Facebook account. So that's why I slept late and I'm a bit sleepy. So those are important. So there's a benefit in developing habits because you can relax, you can be more predictable. Number 2, give it time. Number 3, these are the areas you want to develop good habits on. Your resting, your working, your family time, relationship, your exercise, and your nutrition. I told you about what Dr. Idong told me a couple of years ago. Not years ago, months ago. He said, Mark, Dr. Permites Idong, Kuya Idong I call him, is one of the youngest surgical oncologists in the Philippines. He has everything that you could possibly study in the field of surgery and oncology, meaning all the suffixes in his name. He has all of those. And this is what he told me. He said, fitness and health are 2 different things. You can be healthy but not fit. You can also be fit but actually not healthy. Being fit, for example, like unfortunately Lee Chong-wei. Lee Chong-wei is one of the greatest badminton players who ever played the game. He's one of the fittest human beings you can find. But he was not healthy because he got sick with cancer. So being fit doesn't mean you're healthy. It doesn't also mean that you're not looking fit, but you're unhealthy inside. So what is important, according to Dr. Permites, is to be both healthy and fit. You can be both healthy and fit if you're exercising, but you can also be fit because you're exercising, but unhealthy because you're not eating right and you're not sleeping well. So let's be both healthy and fit. And in order to do that, we need to develop good habits. Okay? Clear so far? Now, when we go back to the new normal, these are the elements of developing habits. According to the book, The Power of Habits, if you want to read up on habits, by the way, there's a very good book on habits called The Power of Habits. And if you tie that up with another book called When, W-H-E-N, then you would be able to put together understanding of habits with understanding of timing and productivity. So when you have a knowledge of habits or the anatomy of habits, and you have the knowledge about proper timing in order to have productivity, then you could really manage your lives better. Okay. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Okay. Ang pang-apat na i-share ko sa inyo is, in order to develop new habits, we need to understand the anatomy of habits, or how habits start, or how we could create habits. Sabi ng book, The Power of Habits, if you have bad habits, you cannot just think of stopping habits. You can't just say, I will stop this bad habit. According to that book, what usually happens is you did not really just stop a habit, you actually replaced it. You replaced it. So the humans now are so wired to the things they do, and they're used to doing things that when they develop a certain habit in one area of life, it's very hard to break that unless another habit replaces it. Another habit replaces it. And for example, the book, The Power of Habit, talks about how people who are alcoholic have been helped by replacing those habits with, for example, exercise. Because there's, for example, drugs can trigger certain chemical reactions in the body that might also be mimicked by the chemical reaction if you're running. If you trigger endorphins when you're taking drugs, the drug that excites you, you might feel the same way if you exercise. So developing the new habit to replace that bad habit is the right thing to do. So how do you develop habits? And how do habits begin? How do habits begin? Here are the three things. These are the secrets to developing habits. Okay. Number one, according to experts, you look at your habit. Usually, there are three parts to it. There is the cue part, or what I call the ritual part. There is the routine part, or the schedule part. And there is the reward part, which is, to me, the celebration part. Okay? So what are the three parts to the habit? The cue, or what I call / ritual. The routine / schedule. And the reward / celebration. Okay? So, if you want to develop good habits or replace your bad habits, first and foremost, you need to develop a cue, or a certain ritual. According to the book Power of Habit, a uniform is a good cue. Whenever the doctor wears the white robe, it cues them that they are now a medical doctor, or a fireman, or a policeman, or even call center people. When you talk to call center guys, most of them speak normal English, normal Filipino English when they're not working. But the moment they wear their headset, it triggers a certain kind of accent. It triggers a certain kind of English speaking manner. Because they triggered it. They have a cue. So meron ka dapat cue. Ano ang iyong ritual? So, halimbawa sa akin as a speaker, I cue myself by cleaning my own shoes, brushing my own shoes, fixing my own clothes. It gets me into the zone. And what are other cues? Another cue is when you put on makeup. I remember in law school, we all had our own rituals when we were preparing to study. And I know, I'm not sure if Jopi Avancenia is working. If I remember correctly, I think it was Jopi Avancenia. Jopi would arrange her markers, her colored markers. She would arrange their markers on her desk before he started studying. Me, I would arrange my books every day. That's another cue. When I went to PTV for news, yes, the makeup and the dressing up became a cue. So, remind yourself that you're working, and those little things will cue you. Halimbawa, cue, di ba yung areas that I mentioned? Rest. If you want to rest well or sleep well, what is your cue? That you need to sleep already. What is the ritual? You need to create a ritual to remind the body it's time to now rest. You can turn on a certain lamp. light a candle, or me, I'll tell you what my cue is. It's just recently that I developed a good cue to remind me it's sleeping time. I wear socks at night. Trisha cranks up the air conditioner really cold, and I find it too cold for me. So to cope with the temperature, and also to make sure that I cue myself, I wear socks. So I make it part of my routine, and when I wear my socks, it reminds the body it's time to now rest. So that's part of it. Yung exercise cue, where you put your gym bag, where you put your shoes, is essential. When you go to work, what you wear, what you do when you get to the office, dapat meron kang ritual, meron kang cue. Na uulit-ulitin mo yun. Uulit-ulitin mo yun. When you get to your desk, what do you do to remind you, now it's time for you to work? Okay. Cue, that's number one. Number two, what is important is, once you cue yourself that it's time for you to either rest, work, be home with your family, take care of your family, it's time for you to exercise or eat right. Ang pangalawa na aspect ng habit ay, you need to have a routine or a schedule. Hindi pwedeng pabago-bago. Because habits are usually schedule bound. When you anchor it on certain schedules, then it's easy for the body to act according to that schedule. So dito sa ating new normal, kung meron kang mga bagong rules, meron kang merong ritual. So anong mga ritual sa kumpanya? Meron kang circle time, meron kang huddle time, meron kang Monday meeting, meron kang report getting, meron kang ganon. So yung mga activities that you do, merong paglilinis, merong yung mga ganong maliliit na bagay, those are not just casual things. Those are cues. Those are rituals that will remind people to perform a certain way. Pangalawa, schedule, cue. Cue, ritual. Pangalawa, schedule. Ano ang iyong routine? Now, the human body is so happy with routines. That's why we could work 300 days a year, rest for 65 days maybe, or even less. But we're okay with the 300 days working. You notice that if you go on a vacation, if an extended vacation, let's say it's a 12-day vacation or a two-week vacation, after the 8th day or the 9th day, because you're out of your routine, naubos na yung excitement mo, napagod ka na, you will begin to feel low. You will begin to feel tired. Why? Because erratic yung schedule, the body's not resting, it does not follow a pattern, it does not follow a schedule. That's why the body gets tired. But if it is anchored on a routine and a schedule, the body can relax. Now, the problem again with this COVID quarantine, our schedules and our routines have been altered. Kaya kami, sa bahay, we're trying to follow a certain schedule and we're trying to be as productive as we possibly can. Meaning, we're trying to mimic our regular lives. That's why this is part of it. I'm doing this because this is Mark working. Trisha helping me set up. Trisha making calls in the morning. Mark teaching the kids badminton, table tennis in the afternoon. So it's still part of a regular routine, which is not far from what we do every day. So we're trying to keep that routine, so to keep our balance and well-being even during this quarantine season. Okay, now, I'd like to now share with you some insights coming from the book entitled When, W-H-E-N, on proper tasks for certain times of the day. What are good things to do at certain periods during the day? So, you cue that you are working. Now, if you're thinking of a good routine, what's a good routine? What should you do at certain points during the day? Now, scientists studied the human behavior since ancient times, and they figured that humans behave actually the same or very similar to their ancient ancestors in terms of what the mind and the body is ready to do at certain periods during the day. So, halimbawa, pagising daw ng tao after a 6 to 8 hour, hopefully 9-hour rest at night, in the morning, the human body is so strong, the brain is well rested, the eyes are focused, the senses are sharp, because ancient man, pagkagising ng umaga, what you're thinking of is, I need to hunt for food. I need to hunt for food. So early in the morning, after you've rested the entire evening, you're actually primed to hunt. So you're focused, you can learn things, you can see things, you can notice things. And that's why it is suggested by experts that if you want to do something analytical, if you want to finish something critical that requires a lot of brain work, focused work, if you want to learn something, learn a language, learn something new, it is best to do it in the morning. The earliest possible, the earlier, the better. Meaning, if you can wake up 5 o'clock, sunrise, so well rested, eyes, mind sharp. Me, I actually write best in the morning, and I write best at beginning around 6 o'clock till about 10 o'clock. And I know a certain engineering consultant. His name is Engineer Orly Cablayan. He's the president of EDCOP. That's one of the oldest and most respected engineering consulting firms in the Philippines. He is the president of the company, but he comes before 6 o'clock and he's already on his desk working at 6 o'clock. Most of the things he needs to finish for projects that they're running are done before 10:30. Before he takes his morning coffee, most of the critical works are done. So if you want to develop something critical, do it as early as possible because that's when you're sharp. Now, the assumption is before the sun reaches its summit around lunchtime, you should have already finished your hunt. So we should have already done all the necessary work for the day. So the next thing you do is the body will rest. That's why humans, Europeans, dito ko na-realize na yung siesta of Spaniards actually make them productive. And it's not laziness. It's a strategy to rest during that period. That's really a downtime. So around 11 o'clock, the body begins to lose its focus, lose its sharpness. It's beginning to be hungry. And so you start resting from around 11 till around 3. That period is difficult, okay? Because that's when the body is eating, resting. So what do you do during that period? That's where you socialize, build your network. That's where you call friends. That's where you ensure that that's why lunch meetings are not really to do critical work, but lunch meetings are important to align people, to develop team synergy, to build, to strengthen relationships with business partners. So go out for lunch, meet people, go out for lunch, bring your team with you. You don't have to do something really critical during that period because your brain and your body are not ready to do that anyway. But that is essential to build strong relationships. So in the morning, do the critical work. Lunchtime, build relationships, okay? At around 3 o'clock, you're done with the critical work in the morning. You're done building relationships lunchtime, strengthening teams lunchtime. You know what? According to that book, 3 o'clock onwards is when the brain begins to rest and become creative. So the key term for 3 o'clock onwards is creativity. That's where you strategize. That's where you dream. That's where you create things. And that's actually the reason why most artists love working at night. You can't just say, well, he's an artist, he's a night owl. Apparently, there's basis for being a night owl in science because you need to be full already. You need to be assured that you've already eaten, you've done the critical work, you've built your relationship, you made your necessary calls, and then at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, all the way to the evening, that's where you create. That's where you become artistic and creative. That's where you think beyond just logic. You think beyond just measured things. You think beyond just targets. You're breaking barriers in your mind. You're thinking out of the box. So 3 o'clock onwards, that's when you do your strategy meetings. That's where you do your marketing meetings. That's where you do your creative meetings. That's where you do your brainstorming. So yun po yung suggestions ng ating experts dun sa scheduling that should be the basis, that should be anchored on human tendencies. And those human tendencies will now be easier for you to create habits out of that routine. Alam na ng tao na pagising sa umaga, mag-align kayo, you do your checklist, you'll finish your emails, you send critical communications. Pagkatapos niyan, tatapusin mo yung kailangan mo tapusin, you will review the financials, you will give orders on what to do, you will try to solve problems, etc., etc. You will dispatch everything as fast as you can, work everything until around lunch. And then lunchtime, you'll begin to call people. Hey, how are you guys? How you call your business partner? When can we have lunch? You can have lunch, you can have coffee, build relationships, rest a bit, review what you finish in the morning, what you need to do for the rest of the day. And then at 3 o'clock onwards, that's when you create. Think out of the box. Plan for new projects. Okay? That's essential as well. So, Q. Routine. Q, rituals, makeup, setup, remind yourself that you're about to work. Remind yourself you're about to rest. Remind yourself you're about to exercise. Remind yourself And then once you get into that activity, develop the schedule, the routine around that schedule. And then lastly, ang pangatlo, develop a system to reward yourself after accomplishing things that day, or to celebrate. Reward yourself or celebrate. During better times, when prior to COVID, after I do a big seminar or conference or do a workshop, I usually rewarded myself with either a pen or a notebook, because fountain pens make me happy. And there was a time I used to buy watches when it's a really big event. I used to buy watches, pero hindi na siya ngayon ganun, because this is post-COVID, is no time for luxury. So I just would like to recap the things that I shared with you today. I mentioned about developing a cue or a ritual. Number 2, develop your routine or a good schedule. And finally, give yourself a reward. I mentioned I buy things, but this time maybe we just need to celebrate with our families. We have a good dinner with our loved ones. And that would be enough to celebrate during this post-COVID, post-quarantine world. We don't need to buy things in order to celebrate the good habits that we've shown for that day, that resulted to a lot of our accomplishments for that day. So that's it, my friends. Do you have questions? I got cut there, right? Mike, did you notice? Did I get interrupted? I don't know if that was uploaded. The first segment. Be sad if that didn't get through. I don't know how to retrieve that though. Okay. What you got DC'd? What's DC'd? All right. So, do you have questions on what habits? Yes, Cecilia, it just suddenly got cut off. And now I can't do the panoramic view. Okay, disconnected. So I'm back now, but it's in this format now. So that's it for the day. I hope we develop good habits for our organization, for our own work and life after this quarantine season. So remember those things. It's important for us to develop good habits because it can make our productivity excellence consistent. We will relax and we could share these habits to friends. Give yourselves time because it might not be the same for others, meaning the time for you to develop your own habits will not be the same. Number 3, habits. You need to replace bad habits with good habits. You can't just cut the bad habit, you need to replace them. And then I shared with you certain habit areas you can work on. Your rest habit, your work habit, your family time and social obligations habits, and then finally your nutrition and exercise habits. And lastly, I shared with you, the 5th one, I shared with you the 3 things you need in order to develop good habits. And they are, number 1, have a ritual or a routine. Do these rituals to trigger that you're about to do this thing. Number 2, I shared with you the routine or a schedule that will be beneficial to maximize your productivity for the day. And finally, I shared with you, give yourself a reward. Celebrate every time you do something significant or something good. All right, so that's it for you, my friends. Do you have questions? The video lasted 41 minutes. Yes, JV. And then it got cut. So I don't know. Mike is the expert in this technology thingy. So he will help me maybe put these 2 videos together. The first one and this one that we are on right now, to maybe tie it up with the first video. Okay? So, develop good habits, my friends. Whatever it is you find after this quarantine, I hope you be excellent at it. After this quarantine, I want to develop good habits to promote optimum health. But how? Please give tips. Okay. If you want to develop optimum health, 2 things. When 2 parts of yung health daw natin is, yung una is really eat what we eat. Fitness and health is all about what we ingest, what we eat. And most of the time, how we eat is a habit. The amount of rice we put on our plate, the amount of ulam we put on our plate, the kind of food that we eat, the time that we follow when we're eating is usually habit bound. And if we want to change, therefore, we change our eating pattern. And how do you change your eating pattern? You cue certain things. So for example, I will not eat yet until I do 20 push-ups. I will not eat yet until I drink a glass of water before I start eating. Those are little tweaks in your eating pattern that will allow you to change or alter your well-established eating pattern. Number 2, your exercise habits. If you want to exercise, you need to do it so often or often enough to develop a regular expectation on sa katawan mo, sa body mo, that I am about to exercise. Na nakikita mo pa lang yung shoes mo, your body gets excited that it's about to run. Or you see your bike, or you see a path. So, kailangan meron ka ding ritual. So, I would suggest to buy a shoe that you like, or a certain get up, or shades, or kung ano man nun. Have a certain routine in the way you do things. And even when you're not feeling so good that day, the moment you start that ritual or that cue of putting on your shoe a certain way, of putting on your shades, or dressing up according to that activity that you're about to do, then that will trigger that routine, that exercise habit that you are on or you're trying to develop. So those are 2 things: that eat right, alter your eating pattern, and number 2, have a trigger for your exercise routine. Okay, any other question? Thank you for the lesson. You're welcome, Ate Miles. Yes, we need to replace some habits. We can't just stop, we need to replace them. So kung ano yung habit na yon, kailangan natin palitan na maganda. Okay? One of the workout habits that I'm trying to develop is, according to experts, when we're getting older, we lose muscle. Once you lose muscle, you replace muscle mass with fat. So you will weigh the same, but you will be fatter because the muscle gets replaced by more fat. So one of the habits I want to develop even now is to do a little bit of strength training in order to keep muscle, because muscle burns faster or requires more calories than fat. And so if you have more muscle, it's easier for your body to burn calories rather than fat. Meaning, for a muscled person, even if the muscled person is just sitting down, the body is burning fat because the muscle eats a lot of calories. Whereas a person who has lost a lot of muscle, the metabolism will be much slower. So I plan to develop that. That's why I'm doing push-ups again. I'm doing squats again. Simple calisthenics at home to somehow keep muscle, because that's what experts are saying in order to keep posture and also to keep healthy. Okay, any other question? Any other question? By the way, this might be my last week of doing this quarantine learning session, at least on a thematic approach, because after this, for the next 3 weeks, if we're extending the quarantine, I'm hoping to write a book, finish writing the books. I have 3 books actually in my laptop that are unfinished. So I'm hoping that I would be able to finish at least one of them, and maybe I could shoot a video every so often to give you an update on how I'm progressing, to those who are interested, by the way, and just to share with you my thoughts for that day as I begin to write that particular chapter or portion of the book. All right, so that's it for today. Yesterday we talked about leading change. Today we talked about habits. Habits are very important. We all need positive habits, so we will perform excellently without even thinking about it. That's really my habit, doing work that well. Okay, so that's it for today, my friends. See you all again tomorrow for another quarantine learning session. Take care, flatten the curve, stay at home, develop good habits even now, so when we go back to work, we will just roll along excellently. God bless.